A slave name is the personal name given by others to an enslaved person, or a name inherited from enslaved ancestors. Modern use of the term applies mostly to Africans, African Americans and West Indians descended from enslaved Africans who retain the name given to their ancestors by the enslavers. Changing from a slave name to a name embodying an African identity became common after emancipation by those in the African diaspora seeking a reconnection to their cultural roots. Ancient Rome. In Rome, slaves were given a single name by their owner. A slave who was freed might keep his or her slave name and adopt the former owner's name as a pronominant nomen. As an example, one historian says that a man named Publius Lartius freed a male slave named Nisha, who was then called Publius Lartius Nisha. Historian Harold Whetstone Johnston writes of instances in which a slave's former owner chose to ignore custom and simply chose a name for the freedman. African Americans. A number of African Americans and Jamaican Americans have changed the names out of the belief that the names they were given at birth were slave names. An individual's name change often coincides with a religious conversion or involvement with the Black nationalist movement. Some organizations encourage African Americans to abandon the slave names. The Nation of Islam is perhaps the best known of them. In his book, Message to the Black Man in America, Nation of Islam leader Elijah Muhammad writes often of slave names. Some of his comments include, "You must remember that slave names will keep you a slave in the eyes of the civilized world today. You have seen, and recently, that Africa and Asia will not honor you or give you any respect as long as you are called by the white man's name." You are still called by your slave masters' names. By rights, by international rights, you belong to the white man of America. He knows that. You have never gotten out of the shackles of slavery. You are still in them. The Black nationalist U.S. organization also advocates for African Americans to change the slave names.